Hey guys, so welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about presentations. Now, before we start with talking about presentations, I want to make sure that you subscribe to my channel. The reason that that's important is that keeps you motivated and that makes sure that I know exactly I'm producing the content that is important to you. So if you want to see more of this content, please make sure you subscribe. So today, presentations. Now, for a lot of people, presentation can be something that's actually very scary. A lot of people don't know how to present. It can be very overwhelming when they do go on the stage and present. What I'm going to be talking about today is how to create a structure in your presentation that ensures that you wow the audience, okay? So there's 5 key elements to this, and I want to make sure that you end up breaking these steps down and ensuring it's kind of like a checklist to ensure that whatever you have in your presentation is going to ensure that it's going to wow the audience. And I guess ultimately, when you wow the audience, that allows you to bring a lot more opportunities to you, whatever your goals and dreams may be. So the first checklist you want to make sure you've got down pat is you've got to produce content that's fresh. So what I mean by that is, well, I'm sure you've been to a lot of presentations and some of the content that they talk about, it's very old. And the issue with old is that it doesn't engage a lot of new people in terms of how is this going to be relevant to them? Is this information outdated? And it doesn't create that excitement to go to the audience and go, wow, we are learning about cutting edge stuff in the industry, in whatever you're talking about. For example, it can be the latest insights into what's happening in the industry you're talking about. It can be the latest things that's happening in the topics you may be talking about, the topics you're passionate about. The reason that's important is that engages a lot of the audience, but it also excites them going, wow, this is the future. Wow, this person knows his or her stuff. So the first checklist is creating content that's fresh, new ideas, new insights, new trends, and new data. So that's one part. Now, the second part we're going to be talking about in that particular checklist is you got to create information and you got to create your presentation that's very informative. And what I mean by that is that sometimes the information that they're giving out may not go into that deep level and may not produce insights and data or information that no one has access to. Now, the reason that's important is I'm sure you've been to a lot of training and development or a lot of webinars or a lot of people that you've heard speak on particular topics. And oftentimes that might be the same topic that other people are talking about. So it's not new, it's not the latest cutting edge things, and it's not things that people don't have access to. Yeah, I'm sure you've been to presentations and I'm sure you've been to a lot of public speaking where certain individuals produce data and information that no one else had. And you were astounded by the information they're providing. Now, the reason that that's important is because that allows you to demonstrate your credibility. It allows you to demonstrate that you are the leader in that space. And that's what you want to do in the presentation is establish yourself as a thought leader, as someone that is the expert in that industry. And that allows you to sequence and allow you to establish your brand as the leader in that specific space or the most go-to person around the topics you're talking about. And that's important because if you want more opportunities, you want to be seen as the number one person to be going to on those topics you're talking about. Now, the third one is this is something that a lot of people get mixed up. You know, it's good to have the fresh information, it's good to have informative information, but you got to make sure it's relevant. And what I mean by that is that you got to know your audience and you got to tailor that communication to your audience because for sometimes some people don't know how the two conversations link up and how it's relevant to them. Now imagine you're sitting in this particular presentation and this public speaker is talking about fresh insights, informative information, but if they don't link how it's relevant to you, that's a big issue because they can't use the information and that's where that disengagement occurs. At the same time, if that public speaker started talking about things that was relevant for you, for example, if your goal is to make a lot of money, if your goal is to be the number one public speaker, if your goal is to be a leader in your industry, and they started sharing about how learning public speaking or the topic they're talking about is able to get you to those positions, See, that makes it relevant to them because you're tying with their goals, you're tying with things that they know, and you're tying with things that they understand. So the third piece is relevant. So the first piece, fresh. Second piece, informative. Third piece, relevant. Now the fourth piece is you got to be enthusiastic. And what I mean by that is energy catches onto energy. Now imagine you are hearing from a public speaker that is very, very dulled down, very boring. Imagine how that appeals to you. I'm sure that for a lot of people, they'll fall asleep. And now imagine a moment when there's the public speaker that's fully enthusiastic, giving a bunch of energy. Imagine how that makes you feel. Imagine the information you're able to retain from that speaker when they're so enthusiastic. Now imagine in your life, of all the speeches you remembered, all the people that you've heard on stage, who caught your attention? For a lot of people, it's the one that's enthusiastic. And it's important to be enthusiastic so that people remember. Because memory, the way memory works is that we remember by the emotions we feel. And now when we look at our life, every single part of things we remember the most is the one that we have the most amount of energy, the most amount of emotions tied to that. So the more enthusiastic you end up being, the more they'll remember you. Now we come to the final stages. And this goes back into the human psychology of how we learn. And it's about stories. So the first one, fresh. Second one, informative. Third one, relevant. Fourth one, enthusiastic. And the last one, story. Now, how does story play into all of this? So throughout centuries, the way we learned was through verbal communication. We know one our ancestors passed it down to our other ancestors through the words. And through words, we ended up learning about stories. When in the ancient times, and even to this day, we learn about specific teachings through stories. And what you want to do is be a really good storyteller from the time that a hero ended up joining and learned about how they public speak to the time that they ended up overcoming it and became the world's number one. So through this journey, I want to share a story with you actually, and it's about life and about myself as well, and about a particular person where I remember even doing a video like this, I was very scared. And I remember it took me days and days to start this. And my first speaking, I was nervous. And I remember I did Toastmasters, I did public speaking training, and I was still scared. And not scared as in a scaredy cat, but I feel confident and go, okay, I'm going to conquer this. I was motivated, but then when I go on the stage, I'm like, holy crap, all these emotions just starts coming up. And then there was the next phase where, I used to share stuff and I used to question, are they getting it? How do I create something that's very compelling? And through continuous learning, through continuous practicing, I ended up learning these 5 techniques of creating fresh information, creating informative information that really is valuable to someone and that other people can't get access to, having relevant conversations with people, being enthusiastic, and finally through stories. So let me know how your presentation's going. Let me know, some of the challenges you face. Whether you're presenting at university, whether you're presenting in a business to business meeting, or whether you're trying to establish a brand for yourself and you're starting to do public speaking. I really want to hear what are the challenges for you to build up your public speaking capabilities. Comment below. I'm always here for you. So if you need any questions or anything that you love answered, I'm here. Peace out.